Hi there. I follow Max Keiser and Alex Jones and all these people. I listen to their videos or their podcasts, and it's all very interesting. But of course, it is a little bit like complaining about a bad movie in the movie theater on the Titanic. So you're basically sitting there watching this spectacle, this storyline, and you're increasingly realizing that it completely sucks. That there's no rationale behind the plot, there's no heroes, it's not exciting anymore, it's just one big sucky movie. And you're complaining about that, and all the people are very vocal about all the problems that occur. But you're not, confronting yourself or facing the fact that you're in the movie theater in a Titanic that is sinking. You should do something about the sinking, not about the movie that sucks. You can complain about the Security and Exchange Commission that's corrupt, about Washington that's corrupt, about the tea parties that are bought, about First Amendment, Second Amendment, whatever. It's all so diverse and so spread out, all these different issues, and it's really, I'm completely convinced that narrative stories are never meant to really activate people. The only way that it works is that you have an acute problem, and then somebody kind of pieces your mind together while you're trying to deal with that in a sort of panic. So you get these motivational speeches when everybody is down to grasp the fact that you have one chance in life and you have to make it this time. But that's basically the situation right now. It's like you have climate change, the free market is not capable of dealing with it adequately, or doing it way too slowly. You can shortcut that all by taking direct action yourself, by not waiting for anybody else to litigate or to do something like that. Or you can start litigating, because that's not really happening at all. The Security and Exchange Commission is not doing it. You can do all these things. You can organize in Facebook. You can organize in many other ways. And I have my own @democracy sites, which I'm building slowly because I'm now working on the solar panels, but which is actually meant to find people that want the same thing as you do, and are actually capable of championing the cause. There must be lawyers and judges and people like that really want to get rid of this banking system. And I hope I can explain it in this video, but I explained it in another video already, like the basic flaw in the banking system. And it's very well illustrated with an example that I found in a report by the World Bank, where they try to find a way to avoid volatility in the grain and wheat prices. Because that's in the key, that's everything that banks want. Banks want steady cash flows. They don't want risk. They avoid it at all costs. And because that is their business model, because they want to expand and grow and have and be farming, be basically rent farming, they do something very essential, which is they hide information. They hide information of risk. And the way to explain it is that if you invest in somebody, so you pay for somebody to try to do something, and you say, okay, if you succeed, then I get a piece of the action. Then you are participating in that activity, and you know what's going on. And if the guy fails, or the girl fails, or the business fails, then you lose your money. And so you know, and everybody that can observe you knows how things are going for you, and if you are making wise decisions. Banks don't like that at all. They like to have somebody give them an asset, the base on which they can give them a loan, and then that loan has a fixed interest rate. So it doesn't depend on the performance of the person. And that's how you get housing bubbles, that's how you get all these investment bubbles. The problem with that is that you never see what's going on inside the box. And the problem with that is that the market cannot adapt. So if, for instance, in the housing bubble, there had been always information, the rating of the mortgage would basically have been the income of the person paying it divided by the mortgage value or something like that, or their monthly payment fee. It's a very simple formula. So what's your income, and how big a percentage of your income is this mortgage? And then you can of course put another factor in, which is the type of contract the person has. people would have immediately seen that this information now filters through in the value of the mortgage, and you don't want to have them in any packages collateralized or whatever, because they're worthless, But that's how banks operate. And now this example for the World Bank is especially aggravating, because they basically discuss how they can avoid volatility, and they conclude that you cannot avoid volatility because there's a real market, there's no surplus, so small changes will cause countries to either they may be real or big changes like the Russian drought, or they will cause participants to start hoarding grain and wheat and all these things, and that will drive up prices sharply, because you never know when you have another drought next year. It doesn't really help if you're trying to protect yourself against climate change by simply fighting the symptoms, but anyway. But that's the Titanic sinking. And now what they write about is that there are people that try to manipulate the price, keeping it steady, by naked short selling futures, commodity futures. That's just shocking, because what that means is that you have a market, a real market that people really need, people eat that stuff. The price goes up because there's a shortage. That price signal, that would mean that the person that sells the wheat can actually produce more next year because he earns a lot of money selling it, and that can show other people that there's a shortage of wheat because the price goes up, is hidden by naked short selling of wheat futures, because banks like it that way. They like price stability, because then nobody, everybody goes about their way. It's a status quo thing. But that's hidden by the naked short selling. That's super damaging, because of course the seller doesn't earn more, so it's basically robbed of his extra income while he has a very scarce good that the market really wants. The market doesn't see this shortage because they don't see the price increases, so they don't take preparations. They don't start considering, okay, maybe we should start to grow this commodity because it's attractively priced. And in the end, you might end up with, let's say everybody gambling on or thinking that there's adequate supplies of wheat in the world, and then one Monday morning or something, everybody says, okay, we need that stuff because our own country didn't produce it, and it's not there, and everybody starves to death. Because bankers don't care about that. In the process of hiding the risk, they are destroying the security. Maybe that's why they call these things security, because they really don't offer any. So that's the ultimate 1984 mind fuck that they can apply on these things. They're not securities; they're basically risks. Would be much more interesting. And that's the Titanic, and that's why this system, I think, needs to be destroyed. It needs to be demolished. It needs to be taken down towards a real economy model. There's no issue in hurting people personally. I never advocate that. But you can decide, if you're just somebody that tries to manage an economy or try to keep a country thriving, and you constantly allow these institutions to hide the fact there is a shortage of this and a shortage of that, and there's a lack of this and a lack of that, and you get student loans for courses that don't offer any additional value, but that's never, it's never. Let's say there's this story about this girl that's now a stripper, but she did a course that was funded by Goldman Sachs, and if you would have valued that study, if let's say the Goldman Sachs would have taken into account the return on their investment all the time, which would have shown the real risk, which would have, let's say, made the value transparent, they would never invested in it. It would never have happened. So hiding the risk is the big danger, and get out of that movie theater of the Titanic and start caring about the leaks and start working on destroying this system.